All right, so I'm going for my morning walk, and I want you to first. This is Utah, Salt Lake County here, and right across there is kind of the crest where you go from Salt Lake County, or like the greater Salt Lake area, and start heading down towards Provo and stuff. So we're in Sandy, about a 15-minute drive up from Salt Lake City. And imagine, if you would, that all those houses out here just didn't exist. That we're back in, pre-industrial sort of times, and we've got a few tribal settlements just hanging around. Imagine what their life is like, right? You've got a tribe of anywhere from, a couple of hundred. I'm not talking about necessarily, Utes or any Native American tribes, but just tribe of people. So you've got anywhere from, 150 to a couple thousand people per tribe, and each individual in the tribe gives back to the society in some way. That they were raised, their dad was a hunter, so they become a hunter, or their mom was, somebody that made shoes, or also hunted, whatever. That everybody finds their kind of little niche in society. They figure out what to do to give back to their social construct, and they do it. So, in that sort of a society, there is no money. And I mean, it's just not necessary at that point, right? You've got the hunters hunt, the gardeners garden, the farmers farm, the water bearers go and grab the water and distribute it, and everybody has their little role and part to play, and so they do. But now, let's say that the leader of the tribe was off, on some voyage to some distant land, and they come back, and they witnessed the use of a currency in trade, and they saw that it appeared to make the powerful people have more than other people. And so he wants to try it out. So he blocks off the river. He puts a big dam up there, and so he the reserve, right, is water. So they build a bunch of water towers, and so there are water coins, and they start printing maybe little clay tablets or whatever the case is, and they start distributing them, and everybody has is given a certain number of water coins to start off with, and the collective water-based economy begins. But before we go further here, let's kind of go back to the pre-water coin society. Everybody has a job to do. Everybody does it. It's something that they know how to do. It's something that they know a lot about, right? They're very competent in what they're doing. They have friends that they do it with, right? Relationships, associations that work well, because that's just the dynamic that a system like that settles into. If you don't like what you're doing, you find another niche in society that fits something that you would feel good about, or something that you're willing to learn more about, and start giving back to society in that manner. So in the pre-Watercoin society, take the earphones out. There's just, you have the three requirements for intrinsic motivation. Okay, so you have competency. Each individual is competent. They have the deep knowledge, working knowledge of what they're doing. And when you are competent in something, okay, and you have good working relationship with those that you are working with, closely working with, in order to accomplish your task. All right, so competence plays a key role in igniting your intrinsic motivation, because you've gained a deeper knowledge of what you're doing. So you know that nobody else knows how to do it, or very few people know how to do what you're doing. So that makes you essential, right? And people appreciate you for that. Okay, so competence is important in igniting your intrinsic motivation. Autonomy. If you have a greater measure of control over how you accomplish your job, okay? If your measure of autonomy over what you are doing, basically what that means is that there's no micromanagement, that people are accomplishing their task without having to feeling like there's somebody managing what they're doing, how they're doing it, that sort of thing. Okay, that doesn't exist. And relatedness. So competency, autonomy, and relatedness. Those are the three key ingredients to igniting the intrinsic motivation engine. And relatedness is, of course, just having a good, deep, personal working relationship with the people you are most immediately working with to accomplish your task or your service. In such a society, you don't have to really, there's no blockade between you and learning more. Okay, so you can learn as much as you want. If there's somebody that knows more about the task, you can apprentice, right? And learn all the trade secrets. Okay, and when you are on this, when you become a master at what you're doing, you are deeply appreciated by others, which fulfills, right, that center in you. So further stoking the fire of the intrinsic motivation engine. Okay, now, post-Watercoin era. So, the second you introduce a currency, you're literally putting a gate between a product and a service and where it is needed and or wanted. So, of course, when you live in such a world, you do have to pay for your apprenticeship. So you find somebody that knows an amount of, that's mastered the skills that you desire or knowledge that you desire, and you have to pay for it. But that means that not everybody is going to get the skills and knowledge that they really want, because an apprenticeship can last a while, often several years sometimes. So you're putting a gate up between people and knowledge immediately. You're also, there's something called the, is it Boltzmann distribution? No. Yeah. I think it might be the Boltzmann distribution, right? Where, it's a mathematical fact that the second you introduce a currency into a social order, you get an uneven distribution of wealth. It is impossible for it not to happen. It's been proven mathematically, right? I'm pretty sure it's the Boltzmann distribution. If it's not, I'll put a link in the comments to what the actual distribution model is called. But yeah, after so many exchanges, it's just a matter of probability that some members of the society will end up with more than the other members, and that's just the way it is. There's a couple of videos that walk through the Boltzmann, or I think it's Boltzmann, walk through this distribution scenario that really give you a really intuitive understanding of why that's the case. Okay, so now you have inequality, all right? And on top of that, what happens when people don't have money, when they don't have what they need to obtain what's required to live a fruitful life, right? So you start to have people robbing other people, taking possessions, stealing things from others, and that's a direct result of the fact that there's inequality. So now we have to come up with some sort of mechanism to deal with the theft. And so now we open up a whole new profession, right? So loss prevention, basically, or police, or law enforcement, okay? So now we've created an entirely new type of crime, and thereby, in doing so, we also have to develop a means of dealing with that crime. So violent crimes become more prominent, okay? Non-violent crimes, but property crimes, thefts, and now on top of that, now we have another type of crime that is immediately introduced the second you have some sort of currency, right? Which is counterfeit, right? You have counterfeiting just spring up overnight because people realize that, oh, this symbolizes status, it symbolizes, value. I'll just make my own. So now you have counterfeiting, okay? And now you have to add even more resources, divert even more resources to controlling the counterfeiting. So not only are resources diverted to counterfeit, resources are also diverted to control the counterfeiting, or to attempt to control the counterfeiting, right? So now hopefully you see, like, there's a series of domino effects, chains of domino events that occur when the water coin was introduced. Okay, now you have planned obsolescence coming into effect. So instead of people building things to actually last, to truly be quality products, right? Bows and arrows, hunting utilities, knives, weapons, houses, wagons, whatever. Now things are built to not last as long, because if you build something to last as long as the owner lives, you're cutting out a measure of your own income. So if you build something to break down, right, with fair regularity, well, you've just ensured that your own stream of income is consistent. So and in the case of our modern society, right, things like software is designed to be updated consistently, not necessarily on purpose all the time, but often it needs updates. Now, in an open source software economy, or within the open source world of software, anybody can contribute to patches. Software is regularly penetration tested, and bugs are found, and patches are submitted, because there are far more eyes on the code than just, proprietary software. Than a proprietary software company can afford. So let's look at some proprietary software. Closed source. It's It's written by a company. It's written by several people, you know, a couple hundred probably, anywhere from 5 to a couple hundred, right, to write their software. So because it's closed source, because it's not open source, fewer bugs are found. And when fewer bugs are found, you begin to have security issues. And so hackers out there turn around and start making a profit off of, you know, however they're exploiting the vulnerability, whether directly hacking into a system and stealing money directly from the system, or by exploiting it in a way like what is kind of currently become the fad, by holding data for ransom, that sort of a thing. And all because, well, you can't have a ransom if there's no money, right? So, all right, now because of money, and because they want to keep their system closed source, they want to keep everything in-house, because, you know, because the financial incentive has they don't want to open source their product. They want to be able to sell their software. Well, that's caused this anomaly to happen, where the closed source project, or the closed source company, now has far more security vulnerabilities. And because it has more security vulnerabilities, it's more easily lent to hacking and people that want to abuse the security surface of that software. So now an immediate response to that is to divert more resources to security companies, penetration testing companies, companies that specialize in building ways to secure software, people that are hired to specifically look for security vulnerabilities and patching them up and handling them. So we've got just like this series of things that occur simply because money has been instigated. So here's the question: do you need money? Because it seems to cause a lot of problems. In fact, almost every problem we have with today's society can be traced directly back to money. And everything from bad science, right? Why do scientists not release their research where the null hypothesis is where the original hypothesis is rejected? Why doesn't it happen? Well, they don't release it because they are afraid to lose their positions, right? Because there's this kind of stigma, and it's oriented around money. Because what happens with research? It eventually turns into money, right? It's the development of some vaccine or some, you know, biological research that is going to end up being, you know, an agricultural help or a medical help. So there is money behind that, okay? And because of that drive, when you release research where the null hypothesis wins, you're sort of losing a little bit of credibility. And in doing so, right, you continue to lose credibility every time you release or conduct research where the null hypothesis kind of is a winning hypothesis. So you want to maintain your credibility, because then that directly, you know, affects how much money you're going to be making, how your next research grant proposal is accepted. So, bad science, okay? Now, how about this? Further, why do scientists fudge numbers? Same reason. It's a financially driven thing. They don't want to lose their positions, right? They don't want to lose their income stream. Or like some unscrupulous companies want to smudge and fudge their numbers to make their product seem less threatening, right? Monsanto is a very good example of this. The woman that the blood testing lady from Silicon Valley, right? She continued to release bullshit research so that she would continue to get funding, and it worked. I mean, she's going to prison now, but there's a Veritasium video where he goes over how much bad research there is out there, and how much bad research, as far as how much research out there is eventually shown to be bad, right? And it's a lot, like an incredible amount. Well, most of the drive, not all, most of the drive, some of it's just faulty research methodology, okay? But most of the reasons behind why there is bad science is because of the financial motive. Is because of the money, right? The motivation for money. So if you got rid of that, there would be better research, more research, right? Which means that science would advance at a faster pace, you know, with a directly correlated to the percentage of bad research that there is, or good research, I should say. So science progresses faster. Tree. Drugs. Yeah, huge financial motive there. Okay. If there wasn't a financial motive, if people were just intrinsically motivated, which is possible without money, believe it or not, there wouldn't be a drug war, right? In fact, there wouldn't be laws against drugs in the first place. It would be that the laws would be based on research which says that when you make drugs illegal, you create a black market for them, with or without currency-based economy. If drugs were illegal in a currency-free economy, or right, a gift economy, there would still be a market, right? There would still be people out there designing and providing them for those people that desire to take them. And so, you know, it's a lose-lose. When you keep things legal, you have control over it. Okay, you can regulate purity, that sort of thing. So, I mean, just everything bad about our current world is based on financial motive. Involuntary hunger, terrible, right? Well, if there was no financial disparity and people had access to what they needed, there would not be involuntary hunger, because other people would be intrinsically motivated to help those that needed help, first of all, but resources would be shared directly according to who needs what and when. So the question is it possible to get rid of money without fucking shit up? If you speak with an economist, they will tell you no. In fact, every economist I've spoken to doesn't even want to entertain the idea. Why? Because they have an incentive to not have a currency-free economy. Any economist in the world, their entire life is tied into the role of being an economist, which means in a world without, currency, they wouldn't have a job, and that terrifies them. Like, you don't want to not be appreciated. Like, you want to have a role in society. You want to feel like you're worth something. That's the whole point of what I'm saying. In the currency-free economy, education is free. Educators educate because they like to teach, which means that they follow up on all the research. They know how to teach the best way. They know how to deal with people. They know how to help people learn. They're deeply connected to education researchers, which means that they're they're always on top of how to educate in the best way possible. Which right now there's a massive gulf between education research and what is currently being practiced in our schools. I mean, incredibly dizzying gulf. Kind of fucked up. No, it's really fucked up. And I mean, I'm getting off topic here, but and why is it like that? Well, there are a couple of reasons. First, teachers, there's no immediate return from teaching kids, okay? You don't make an immediate profit off of that, right? So because of the financial incentive, there's less and less incentive to pour money into education because there's no immediate return, right? Everything is immediate with a financial incentive. Very, very, very few people understand the return that pouring more money into education has. It's not immediate. It's 20, 30 years down the line, and it's not a return directly to the provider of the money. It's a return to the society, right? It comes back to society because kids are educated in a better way. They understand more. They have a better grip on mathematics, on science, on history, everything that matters. So, but because there's no immediate return, I mean, 30, 40 years down the road is far, and it makes it vague because it's not coming back to you anyway. It's coming back to society. So they keep cutting funding for schools, which makes things even worse, right? So now there's less money. Anyway, back to teachers. Okay, so because now teachers aren't getting paid as much, so they have less incentive. They have less desire to really do a good job and to really make sure the kids are learning what they need to learn. They get exhausted easily. They get frustrated. I mean, a teacher's salary is like nothing. I mean, it really is. It's really, really sad. It's right up there with a cop's salary. In fact, I think teachers get paid less than police officers do. It's just backwards. Everything is backwards. So, what was I talking about before that? I went off on an education rant. My point is, money causes more problems than it fixes. Now, another thing to consider is that I went through the FBI database about 2 or 3 years ago, and I crunched the numbers for the 2018 crime statistics. Over 90% of all crime is financially motivated. Think about that. So, over 98% of all crime is financially motivated. Stack on top of that at least 33% of all human labor is directly there to support the economic system. Banks, cashiers at the store, right? Managers counting out at night, balancing your books, filing taxes, the IRS, credit institutions. The Federal Reserve, economic-based laws, right? Laws based on the economy and how money is to be used, and credit, and annual percentage rate laws, that sort of a thing. 33% of all human labor. 33%. That's 1/3. That means that 1/3 of all labor is basically being wasted. Now imagine if you took that 1/3 of all labor and turned it into something that's productive and good for society. So now you have a 33% increase in productive labor. You have a drop in 98% of all crime, and in such a world, there is absolutely enough resources for everybody, because you have a 33% increase in resource production. So you can't not have enough resources for everybody. It's fucking physically impossible. And remember, intrinsic motivation, there's research on how well money motivates. Well, we know that money motivates to a degree, right? But even at that, it's not a great motivator. What the great motivator is the self-determination theory of intrinsic motivation, okay? What ignites your intrinsic motivation engine? And as I said before, it's competency, autonomy, and relatedness. So if you ensure that each individual's competency, right, how well they know what they're doing, how well they understand what they're doing, and how well they do it, how competent they are in their job, okay? Relatedness, which means just working with people that you like. That's all that means, right? Working with people that you work well with. And autonomy, having a majority measure of control over what you were doing. That's all you need to ignite somebody's intrinsic motivation. It's a pretty fucking easy and simple little equation there. So if you ensure that everybody's intrinsically motivated to do something that makes them feel good, that they're giving back to society, you've also ensured that, because everybody has what they need, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which ties into intrinsic motivation pretty well, because once you're intrinsically motivated, self-actualization is hop, skip, and jump away. And people that are self-actualizing turn from being, I guess, selfish acts like gaining more knowledge, making yourself better, making yourself healthier, focusing on yourself, right? Until you begin to self-actualize, then it turns outward, where you begin to focus on your community. So all you have to do is get people focusing back on their community by igniting their intrinsic motivation engine through the means of providing everything that they need to be there. And suddenly they are more concerned about others around them. So they're more concerned about whether or not, other people are intrinsically motivated or self-actualizing. And it's just, once you have a certain kind of tipping point, it's just an upward moving social cycle of auto-actualization. Now everybody's intrinsically motivated, everybody has what they need. And once somebody is self-actualizing, the weird, nasty shit, like, not caring about others, like corruption, being a corrupt individual, hoarding, right? People say, well, if everything was free, if there was no money, people would hoard. No, they wouldn't, especially if you ensured that everybody was self-actualizing and intrinsically motivated. Hoarding is no deal. Like, it just does not happen with self-actualizing individuals. Hi. And that's the crux of it. So any argument you have against it is not an argument, because there is a very functional way to get around the necessity of, or the perceived necessity of using money. I'm home. Bye. Hey, so I'm just going to add a few notes. I realized at the end of editing the video that I forgot to mention a couple of things. So in terms of self-actualizing individuals, a lot of economists and people that are proponents of a currency-based economy will say something like, well, you'll have issues with people feeling like they're doing more work than other people, and there's this this fair thing going on where they feel like they're being, they're doing more work. Why shouldn't they get more out of it? Self-actualizing individuals don't think like that. That's not in a part of how the mind works when you are fulfilled, when you are intrinsically motivated. Okay, things like workplace jealousy, right? That sort of thing just does not exist. You think more communally. You think more, in terms of being a part of a larger functioning system, just like the organs of the body. There's no one organ that's more important than anything else. Everything works in concert. If you were to kind of, maybe the brain, I guess, as somebody trying to see unfairness in the body would probably point out and say the brain does, most of the work, but can the brain do what it's doing with failing kidneys, or with, a bad liver, or with any number of hormonal and issues of the body that can cause toxicity and bring on cloudiness in the way the brain processes? No, you can't. So everything is important. Everything has a part and a role, right? Self-actualizing, optimizing individuals see things like that. They see things as a greater functioning whole. Their mentality turns more to the communal, social mentalities of not socialism. I'm not talking about socialism or communism. I'm talking about the mentality of how you perceive your interactions with others. So, and there's no desire for like gaudy bullshit and excess, right? You don't need to go buy a fucking a yacht, or you don't feel the need for a yacht that you're going to use maybe 5 times in your lifetime, like many billionaires and millionaires do. Rather, you would probably see something more like a large luxury project for the community that and private yachts that people can take out on their own, but that doesn't belong to anybody in particular. Just when you want to go out, you just make a reservation and head out on it because nice afternoon. But you don't need it all for yourself. That there's not that mentality where you desire it for all for yourself. And then that's not to say that there's no privacy. Of course there's privacy. There would have to be privacy. You still need privacy. It's just to say that nobody would feel the need to have great big gaudy shows of their wealth. It's just not in the nature of such a system. And then onto how that follows through and affects the both economic and industrial systems. A lot of our food, right, prepared food is just bullshit. It has all the preservatives, high fructose corn syrup. Why? Because it's cheaper. Truly and honestly, that's why they do it, because it's cheaper. To produce a packaged product that is healthy and that doesn't have preservatives that are dangerous or additives that can cause problems, or nasty shit like high fructose corn syrup that's a literal toxin to your body, people would take their time because that's their art. They're intrinsically motivated to produce something that's good and beneficial and healthy for everybody. Like, their focus isn't on how to cut corners so we don't spend as much so we can make the most amount of profit without really hurting society in a way that's like immediately obvious, right? They put shit in that's mildly toxic, but that, adds up after 30, 40 years and turns into something later on down the line. Non-issue. Again, a non-issue, because that's not the mentality. Mentality is not driven by the financial drive. It's driven by personal pride and a love for your community and an expression of your art form, what you are doing for society. And that expression is an expression of love and appreciation for others. So you want to make the best, right? You want to make the best thing, which also falls into addictive materials, right? A lot of products, high fructose corn syrup and sugar is addictive. And speaking of addiction, Facebook and Twitter, right? What is their drive? It's a financial drive. That's why, and TikTok is fucking terrible, right? The drive is a financial drive. They want to keep you on their platform because then they can show you maximum amount of ads, because that's how they make their fucking money. So of course that wouldn't exist, right? Because instead, social platforms are ways to stay in touch with your friends and relatives. There are no ads. Why would you need ads? There's word of mouth. There's an understanding that there's somebody out there making what you need, and all I have to do is ask, instead of, having shit shoved in your face. You need some nice shoes, you order some nice shoes. You know what I mean? And if there's something revolutionary, you're going to hear about it. It's not going to stay dark and hidden in the corner, recesses of society. If there's some new amazing technology that has come out, you're going to hear about it. There's no way around it. In fact, surely there would be some sort of, probably not advertisements where they're trying to get you to buy the product, but an announcement that this new thing exists. It's going to make this easier for certain types of people, and there you go. So, on to school shootings. Sensitive topic, especially as of late, the school shooting that just happened down in Texas. But think about this. Why did they do it? A large portion of why school shootings occur is because those people don't feel fulfilled. They feel underdog. They feel like they have been brushed under the carpet and thrown away, with the rest of the dregs of society. They feel unappreciated. They feel undermined. They feel abused and used. In a society where everybody is self-actualizing and looking out for everybody else, such individuals, such, internal tumult, it is far less likely to occur. Sure, there's a possibility that it can occur, right? But it is highly, highly unlikely when everybody is looking out for everybody else and everybody's in tune to the emotional states of everybody else. Self-actualizing individuals, their emotional intelligence increases. They are far more aware of what other people are feeling just by, paying attention to other people's body language. So many of our problems is a direct result of the fact that people aren't getting what they need. They are not being fulfilled. And that is happening because there is this bottleneck. There is this gate keeping them from getting what they need. Because the whole point of getting what you need and becoming your best self is very literally in order to turn around and give back to society. Now, when you stop that, when you block that up, when you make it difficult to get what you need, and when there's a large majority of people, or a fairly large amount of people that aren't getting what they need, they can't give back to society. They don't have that drive to give back to society. And so it just causes what we have today, all the fucked up shit. It is all directly a result of the financial system, of money itself, just as a closing note, that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. The research I've been doing for the past 5 years now has been thermodynamic analysis of money itself. In fact, the 3 functions of money directly fly in the face of the 4 laws of thermodynamics. Well, 3 of the 4 laws of thermodynamics. In fact, well, yeah, I'm still working on the research. I will definitely put a video up and a link up when I get when it's complete and I start publishing papers, because there's a lot to this. But yeah, the 3 functions of money not only directly contradict through the 4 laws of thermodynamics, it actually increases the entropy, the systemic entropy, which has a direct result. Like, one of the direct influences of this is what happens when you increase entropy. When entropy increases, you get heat, right? You get systemic heat, or an emission of heat. Global warming, I mean, almost directly, right? There, you can follow the lines all the way to global warming. Yeah, it's very interesting stuff. Very complicated, very complex system, stuff going on. But yeah, so that's it. I guess, no. One last note. Maslow himself estimated that less than 1% of the current population are self-actualizing individuals. That's pretty indicative of I mean, that tells you something, right? We're in a fucked up state where less than 1% of our population are self-actualizing individuals. Because self-actualization isn't just about having what you need. It's about having what you need in a proper environment where you are motivated to take what you need to make yourself a better person. And that is not the current state of the world. And the last note on self-actualization is that about 1% of the population are psychopathic. Okay. Now, sociopaths are a different story, because sociopaths are more or less created. But a psychopath is somebody that is born without the machinery in the prefrontal cortex to be able to have emotional connections. And so the question is, there's never been any research done on this. I've looked, and I've talked to other researchers about this, and I think it would be an interesting study to conduct. But whether or not a psychopath can self-actualize, and if they can, what would that look like? Would it fit well into our into a healthy social system, or would it be something dangerous? So, just some food for thought. Okay, now I am done. Take care. And yeah, we need to replace money with something else, because it's not working. And I don't believe it ever has truly worked. We just think it works because we receive so much fucking energy from nature, from the sun, from, the earth, right? That we can literally waste the majority of it and still come off okay. Like, I mean, not amazing, right? There's a lot of pain and suffering, but still come off where we subjectively feel like we're all right. Imagine if we didn't waste the majority of all energy that we receive from the sun and from, plants and materials and the earth, right? Imagine if we utilized all of it instead of just wasting the majority of it. Self-actualizing people sure as shit wouldn't be polluting. Guaranteed.